It is Nemo.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Because everybody complains I'm too soft. Can you hear
Nah,
me?
We can hear you good now.
loud and clear.
All right. Um, my name is Wairimo or Nimo Warobi, and I'm a best-selling author of the book called Wounded: Diary of a Nameless Woman. What's up? Poet. Oh,
I was just clicking because I'm just really happy that you've got this book out.
okay.
I was just appreciating your love.
Thank you. Now I've thrown myself right. Okay, so I am a bestseller of the book Wounded: Diary of a Nameless Woman. Now I'll go briefly into the book and why I wrote the book. The book was a memoir, started in 2010, and I decided to write a story that unveils the Pandora box for people who live with mental illness and physical disabilities. Because the issue is that you don't see what happens in the back of the door. Every time you see us, we got our mac on, we look good. How are you doing? I'm fine. Really? And so I decided to use my story and I stripped myself completely. I mean, there was nothing hidden. And so I wrote a story about the difficulties of living alone, the difficulties of overcoming depression, because I had moderate to severe depression. And like every African, I was born in Hackney, but raised in Kenya. So I came back here at 30. So my formative years, my Kenyanness had been anchored completely. So coming to England was coming into a new culture, but still having attended British schools. But the thing was, I sat in an appointment and the doctor said to me, "You're depressed." I said, "No, I'm not depressed. I'm stressed." And so we had this whole argument until one day I turned up crying. I needed help. He said, "You're depressed." I said, "Yes, I'm depressed." Took pills and I was happy after that. Well, happy, I guess I was. Now, I also deal with taboo subjects like infertility because I found out I couldn't have kids. So there's infertility, how it's viewed in England, Europe, and in our cultures. Because the reality is it's easier to remain in Europe without a child. And at home, they're always telling you adopt a kid, work for somebody, blah, 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 blah. But the key thing was to open the door to, particularly for women, because we hide a lot. And that is why we need girlfriends. Men wonder, why are these girls meeting? We just go to vomit out all the madness. But the couple of things happened in between. I had traumatic issues going on. So found I couldn't have a kid, fighting for my job because I was a trade union rep and my boss was an asshole, sorry to say that. And I wouldn't let him, I wouldn't let him get the best of me. I was that kind of stubborn. Then I had a nervous breakdown and lost my memories for about 2 years. I then was diagnosed with a physical disease called fibromyalgia. For those who've ever heard of it, it's fibro tissue muscle pain. And this stems from when the brain is overstressed with trauma. There are circuits that trip, and the pain, it sends wrong messages into the body. So there's a book that I'd advise anyone who's gone through trauma that they should read is the body never forgets, or the body keeps score. So you find that the trauma you go through that you don't deal with will morph at some point into your DNA, into your behavior. And you kind of, the way she said, be strong, then you get on with it. Be strong. The body's taking it. And then one day the body says, we can't take it. So for me, I had to mourn a child that had died 24 years ago. the body said, okay, we're going to deal with this now. So it's been 10 years. I've been in therapy since 2010. I stay in therapy for me. For few reasons, I need a place that I feel safe, because I have found that within our own communities, you may decide to ask for help or speak to somebody, and the next thing, everybody in town knows your business. And I don't like my business being known unless I'm telling it. The second thing I wanted to encourage you is, I think it was Tyler Perry who said something that if you have secrets in you or in your family, get out, get help, because that trauma affects your behavior all your life. I've dealt with racism, and my grandmother is an ex-Mau Mau freedom fighter. So they picked on the wrong person to pick a fight with. So I have taken the NHS to court twice and have won. And it is simply because I am a stubborn idiot. As my grandma says, the same passport that governs you is the same passport that governs them. So the law doesn't change just because people are being an ass. I am concerned in my own heart that these groups of talking about mental health need to be consolidated into organizations. One of the things that I found difficult with my therapist was language. So, for example, we have a way we speak, especially around our families. So you could be pitching patois, I've got sheng and whatever. And so this record plays, and it's since childhood. So you can tell me, like my therapist, I'll give you an example, said to me, you know, you're mourning, you've lost a lot of people, you've stopped working, you're losing yourself, you're mourning. I said, what you talking about mourning? Nobody died. And so she says, you've died. I said, no, I ain't. So she's like, I'm trying to explain an English word to you. I said, it's not working in my mother tongue. And so I came to write out in the book the importance of white professionals to actually sit down and understand our cultures, because you can't use the DSM or use the ICD-10 code to use presentations of white people and Black people. Now, I get quiet when I'm pissed off. I get really quiet. It became intimidating. And so I asked the person, did I punch you? Because you're using a storyline that you're using your perception. So it's about challenging behavior. So my book has taken 5 years to write. It was a very hard journey. I'm going to tell you who I am, because I wanted to end it before I tell you all these things. I am Wairimu Warubi, a best-selling author. I'm from Kenya. I know my identity 5 generations back. Nobody can take that from me. Number two, I have succeeded in a white country by sheer wisdom. I sit down and tell God, how do we knock out this guy? And wisdom comes in. Number two, be proud of your identity, because it's from your identity and your soul that you'll be able to battle out these things. We must write our stories, because your story is not my story, and who you reach is not the same. I found out that in social services, in psychiatry, psychology, and nursing, they have only one module on other cultures. Now, if you're saying melanin is a whole a whole what is it, spectrum. Somebody from Guyana, we may have common things, but the culture is different. Language is different. So they take your language, they take your philosophies, they take how you express yourself. So you're able to express. You now need to challenge how you express yourself. Lastly is I've worked 17 years in the UK. I've worked in the back office as a manager in social services. I've worked in the NHS. I have worked as a trade union rep. So if you ever have problems with managers, I'm wicked. I will find ways to make sure that that manager of yours regrets why they gave you shit. Sorry, I swear a lot when I think about those managers. And I'm going to tell you, those 17 years have made me grow. So I've seen myself grow as a patient, a sufferer who lives with depression. But I live with depression, lupus, fibro, and I'm a COVID survivor. I was to be intubated to die last year. I'm still here. Black don't mess around. We've got the fight. And lastly, it's about your mental, the way you make your decisions. The decision you make when you hear a diagnosis, or the decision you make when somebody tries to tell you that you're not who you are, will determine where you go. In the last year, even after coming out of COVID, 15 days, I have a best-selling book. I was nominated Motivational Woman 2021. I was written an editor's choice. I'm limited in my mobility, but I'm not limited in my mind. Just as Justa uses her art, we have other creative ways of making sure that we are heard. And we've got to move as a group, not one group says we're this, no, we have to move as one. So I'm just going to read you a chapter, not a chapter, a piece that may help you understand the importance why I say, please invest in going for talking therapies. You just sit there for 15 minutes like I do. Some days I cuss, sometimes I cry, and then I come and write a book, right? So here is, it's a bit, I hope it doesn't trigger anybody. It's about my suicide plan. If you're triggered, I think it's best you're not here. So I closed my eyes and walked to the train station. I walked through the shopping parade, touching the glass for the last time and looking at the mannequins prepared for the Christmas shopping sprees. Even in the madness, I smiled at the Somali security guy who greeted me every day and asked me where I was if he did not see me. I sat for a few minutes at my bench with Costa coffee directly opposite me. I smiled at the many meets that I had since I got sick. I thought of John and our monthly meetings to have debates. He would be shocked. He would miss me. I took the short route to the train station, through the dark parking lot, out into the gray, quiet street. I could still see the fog and visibility was low. I calmly walked into the station, dressed in my normal jeans, my favorite hoodie, covered with my favorite leather sheepskin lined jacket. I had my favorite Nike trainers and my hat. I love hats. I went, I bought a ticket and walked through the gates. I got a coffee and sat, waiting, waiting for a train. I sat as the Sunday traffic started, people going to church, others to the city for the day. People were wrapped up warm and others, the cold did not seem to affect them much. I watched the Africans in the African outfits. I could not differentiate the Eastern Europeans. I watched them and smiled softly. If only they knew. I was lucky. They would be one of those trains carrying cargo that would fly through the train station nonstop, leaving no room for error. Suddenly, I got up from the seat wondering, Nimo, what the hell is wrong with you? Have you no fear of God? The conversation continued. Will you chance heaven or hell? I knew the answer as I got up, and walked back to the ticket gates, put in my ticket and walked out smiling at the ticket man who couldn't figure out had I left the station or not. I suddenly got out of bed wondering, how bad is this, Mama? You can fight through this. Had you not gone through hard stuff, but this is too much. I went into my bathroom, had a shower, and I decided I needed to talk to someone. So I called Samaritans. I dialed the number. Hello, my name is Miss Warubi. I don't want to go on. Just hearing my voice aloud, I knew I would make it. So that's just a bit of my book. And I would encourage you, let us have these conversations. I'm happy to come in and help where I can, because I'm also kind of bedbound, housebound at the moment. But we've got to bring change. The world is in pain. There's a lot of pain around. Resilience and hope is losing. And you who knows what it means are the helpers that are needed on the ground. Thank you.